Welcome, everyone. So yeah, today marks the day that I've been doing a podcast for an entire year. It's kind of surreal to think about. I would have never thought I would have been to this point by now. I remember 13 months ago, I was really wanting to do it, and I'm very glad I took that leap of faith. Sometimes in life, you don't exactly know what you should be doing, but the only way you're going to know whether you like doing something or not is by taking that leap. And I took the leap and learned that there's some things that I like and some things that I don't like about podcasting. So I kind of changed up the way that I do my podcast. And yeah, it's really been just a journey. And I kind of wanted to create this video to document what I've learned and the experiences that I've gained since doing this podcast. You know, for anyone listening who might want to start one, I kind of want to inspire them and show them that it is possible even when you start from scratch with nothing. So yeah, like I learned that you have to kind of be willing to be a fool before you're willing to be a master. It's like the classic Peterson line. It's like, you know, everyone starts from square one, and if you were like, man, I really want to be a great, dentist, it's like, well, you have to start with square one. You're going to be a fool in the classroom not knowing anything, but through years of time and effort, you're going to become a master dentist if you really want. And that's kind of the beauty. It's like, I'm only on year one, who knows how many more years I'll do this, but if I keep doing it, it's going to hopefully keep increasing in quality, and I'm going to keep getting better at it. And yeah, so it's pretty exciting. And, another thing I learned is some people that you thought were friends might not actually be your true friends. It's like when I feel like in life, when someone is pursuing something that they are passionate about and they're wanting to do, if you're a true friend to that person, it seems like it would be considerate for you to, support, let them know what they're doing is a good thing, and, keep them encouraging them. And, there's some people that I thought, yeah, these people I was close with, but, they haven't mentioned ever about the podcast, asked me about it. They never asked me about it, but that's okay. It kind of shows me who my true friends are, or who the people who truly care are. And, people I didn't expect are now people that I've come closer with because of this. And, I think that's part of growing up. Sometimes, you diverge from your old friend groups. Some of them stay by, but others might just leave. And maybe due to trajectories in life, different goals, etc. And no hard feelings whatsoever. That's something else I learned. It's like, sometimes you have to move on to new friends in life, especially as you make different decisions. Making this podcast was a definite life-changing decision. It put me down a different path. And so that was interesting. And yeah, I even in starting this podcast, I've met people that I would have never met, and I'm happy to call them friends, and it's been truly beautiful. So, and I'm just thankful for all of you who are supporting me even silently. I might not even know you watch or listen, but I just wanted to say thank you. And I guess here's where I'm going to start reviewing some of the best moments from the HSP this last year. So, I first introduced myself, why I wanted to start this journey. Look at me. I look and sound different. It's crazy that even a year ago, how much different I look and sound and was. And that's interesting to just look back on. And then I dropped my first episode, the first real episode, and it's on the morality of porn and masturbation. And I know that right from the beginning, there were people who were like, I'm out. I'm not ever checking out this guy's podcast. What the heck is this guy doing? Weird, creepy topic. Why are we talking about it? And, that was actually kind of nice because it allowed me to see who was a true supporter and who wasn't. And it also really just helped me be vulnerable about my problem because, I've truly kind of moved on from that problem because of that in large part. And yeah, I had podcasts with my good friend Nate Winky and about one of the core fundamental reasons and attitudes about this podcast, which is humility, like realizing you don't know very much and realizing that you got to ask questions in life to learn more. And in order to be an interesting person, you must be interested. And yeah, I've reviewed books on here that have impacted me in ways. I've talked about things like you have 16 hours in a day. You better be utilizing it before you are ever going to have the right to complain that you don't have enough time. It's like, the time excuse is a weak excuse. And then I had a talk with Nate again about our thoughts on Christianity. And I felt isolated for many years on why it's hard for me to walk into a church and feel welcomed and feel like I can truly be myself. And Nate has a similar feeling. And so we could relate and talk with each other on it. And that episode got quite a few views and lots of people have reached out regarding it. And yeah, I hope anyone who hasn't listened might go check that one out. That one might be one of the best ones we've done. And yeah, I've had people like Willis. I wanted to give a shout out to Willis Seifert for coming on the podcast, talking about his knowledge and expertise on alternative energy sources and then also like meditation, like two things that really were useful and interesting. And we did podcasts on both of those topics. I wanted to thank him. And yeah, I had gotten into a disagreement with my girlfriend about, why are you staying up so late? You should get up early and go to bed early. And so I had to go down this thought of, well, there's actually different sleep chronotypes that can occur. And, maybe some people are built for staying up later and waking up later. And scientifically that happened to be true. And I found that to be pretty interesting. So I made an episode on that as well. And yeah, I wanted to talk about a man named Luke Rainham. And episode 22, I had him on, and I just had him on again. You'll see it next year in 2023. But yeah, he showed me so many strategies on how to better this podcast. Like when I first was recording, I was like, the camera like shot and like I was like down here and like you could see like all you could see is my head. And like scientifically, or just the science of video editing, is you kind of want your eyes to be on the top third of the screen. And so he taught me that, and I was like, thank you, Luke. And he taught me about Adobe Premiere Pro and Adobe Photoshop and just the creative cloud of Adobe. And one of my other businesses that I've created is this clip creation business where I create these clips for people. And I also created the second account called Life Changing Clips. If you want to follow it on all the socials, it's had so much more success than my podcast, but hey, who knows? I think with the grind and continuation of these clips, my pod and Life Changing Clips will just keep growing. And yeah, so I really wanted to give a shout out to Luke because he's impacted me in ways, and I could call him a true friend, even though we've only met through the screen, which is, it's such an interesting reality. And yeah. And then next, I got to actually meet one of my all-time favorite artists, Coop. And yeah, it was a fun time talking with him and just surreal in general because I've known his music for many years and had talked to him through Instagram, but never had a long-form conversation, which was awesome. And yeah, and then I had Deb Terpstra on and talked about one of my favorite documentaries of 2022, which is What is a Woman? And, some people listening might not ever want to listen to that documentary. And I would say, yeah, that's kind of your choice. But I feel like that documentary was quite nuanced and really just, it's not like Matt Walsh was going in there and critiquing people's views. He was actually just sitting there and asking questions. And he was letting them explain their arguments, and some of the flaws within their own arguments kind of showed through. And yeah. Then I happened to find a guy on Twitter who was posting some pretty motivational content, and I was like, here, maybe I could reach out to him. And he happened to respond, and I was like, wow. So I had him on the podcast, and man, it was, to my surprise, that was like one of the most inspiring episodes I've ever done. He left America, sold his businesses, and went to Guatemala, adopted kids, created this academy for children, and just like kind of this mission for Guatemalan kids in need. And I was like, wow, that's incredible. And talked with a man named Pete Benda, a long-term friend of mine, who honestly, it's a miracle he's alive. And if you haven't checked out that story, I truly recommend it. It's pretty inspirational. And then right at the end of my spring semester, I had a statistics class, and they were like, okay, you're going to have to do a project analyzing the statistics of whatever you want. And I was like, huh. And I just heard from my roommate about this podcast where they were talking about biohacking being like strategies you can use into your life that will hack your biology and help you live a longer, healthier life in some sense. And so I actually did a whole research project on these 4 activities, created an episode on it, which honestly is an underrated episode. Not many people have seen it, but the stats that I give might want to compel people to start this biohacking journey. It's been since May, and I've done it every single day practically, with a few rest days where I intermittent fast. I only eat within 8 hours of the day. So the 24-hour clock, I eat within 8 of those 24 hours. And then I go to the gym and do this thing called a HIIT workout, high intensity interval training. And it's honestly, it helps your cardiovascular, and it just, in my opinion, my lungs have never been in better shape. And I feel like I have energy because of it, because, when you're typically lifting, you have like so much rest time between sets. So it's not like your heart and lungs are really being stressed. So they're actually not getting that strong. And one of my goals is to be 80 and to be able to do burpees. And I think this will help me get to that. And next I hit the sauna for X amount of minutes, 15 to 25, depending on how I'm feeling. And then I hit a cold shower. And also, Nate and I have installed a cold plunge into our basement. And we hit that pretty regularly. And man, what a life-changing experience a cold plunge is. Anyone who hasn't experienced a cold plunge, reach out to me. You can come try mine out. I'd love to have you. And yeah, if you have access to one, definitely try it. It is crazy the amount of positive emotions that it boosts, like the endorphins, the adrenaline, the norepinephrine. Whew, a new man every time you get out of that cold plunge. So yeah, and then I had a few more episodes. One of them being on the benefits of crying. Like, someone might think, what are you talking about? There's benefits to crying? And I'm like, there is. There's scientific benefits to crying. So if you're feeling something, letting it out in an emotional way it will give you peace, and it will actually boost positive emotion after. Like, it might feel painful and saddening and vulnerable in the moment, but it's going to pay off in the long term. So yeah. Then I had an episode on an analysis of Big Pharma and how there's actually quite a bit of corruption in regards to the peer review process for pharmaceuticals, and how United States and New Zealand are like the only 2 countries that advertise for pharmaceuticals. And it's interesting, like, looking into the reasons why that might be, and the amount of people that are on prescription drugs in America is scary, in my opinion. When it's like, if you think back X amount of years, almost no one was on pills. So it's like, why is this happening? So many people on these depression pills, antidepressants, SSRIs, and I'm like, when's the last time you've went outside, put your feet on the grass, did a HIIT workout, hit the sauna, done a cold plunge? It's like, I doubt most people have done all 5 of those things, but they're on an antidepressant. So I'm like, you might want to rethink your lifestyle before you just believe a doctor who's, inspired to give someone pills to increase his salary. So yeah, and then I talk about how I unplugged for an entire weekend without really any technology. and my experience with that, and had a few more people on, but then I want to talk about this guy named Jarrett. I met him through the Instagram, through a few other people, and I got to meet him personally. I actually went to Ohio. I did an episode with him, and he's super inspiring, and he's also like, he's the kind of person who's like willing to criticize and willing to like say, you can do better than you are doing, and like, he's errs on the side of who one can be, and I truly respect that about him. And he actually showed me the power of the clip creation. After I met him, he showed me what he does with his clips on his different social medias and how he creates clips for others and just the power of these clips. And he opened my eyes. Had an awesome episode with CVC Wellness, one of the smartest guys I've ever met. If you haven't checked that one out, that was probably one of the best I've done as well. Then I created an episode with this guy named Nick on the benefits of red light therapy, and he created a red light therapy business. But one of the things about the episode that kind of blew up was the idea that he actually hasn't shampooed his hair in like 6 years, and his hair is healthier than ever. And so like it's actually been about 3 months since I've done that episode, and I have not put any product in my hair since then. And my hair, you can't see it right now, but it's in good shape. It's never tangled, and it smells great. So it's like, wonder why people are wasting their money on shampoo. And one of my clips on Facebook hit almost 2 million views because of that, and it actually kind of launched me into a different dimension in regards to how many people view this podcast. And so that was really cool to see that. And yeah, any of you who want to try the No Shampoo Gang, come and join, because that'd be kind of fun. I want to hear what happens to your hair. And it's not for everyone, but it works for me and it works for Nick. So yeah. And I talk about, mental toughness with Nick Niebuhr. He's a guy who I've known for a while. He was born with spinal bifida, and he doesn't have access to his legs. And so he's paralyzed from the waist down, but that doesn't stop him. He's on a journey. He's on a journey to be the best version of himself that he can. And like, in my opinion, I have no reason to complain when I see him with his life doing as amazing as he's doing. So that was really good to meet and talk with him. I talked about why porn is so rarely discussed, and I vulnerably explained my current status, and ever since that episode I've been porn free. So it's crazy how useful making these episodes are. And yeah, and then I did some more episodes with some truly interesting people. A yoga master and truly awesome guy, a man who talks about how to improve your voice and how your body's an instrument. And if you tune it right, the words that will come out of your mouth will sound great and impact people positively. And, talked about the dangers of living inside in technology and kind of the beauty of being more connected to nature with Maddox Daniels, talking about how you have to have love and empathy, and with Ricardo Dinez, one of my favorite men I've ever met. And then I had an insane episode with Dr. Tyler Pansner about the genetic complexity of each human, how everyone has a different set of genetic characteristics and mutations, and how there is no one-size-fits-all diet, supplement, or protocol. And I actually got his self-decode membership for life, where I could see things like, Harley, you actually have a mutation that shows that carbohydrates like bread actually don't negatively impact you as heavily as a lot of other people. You have negative risk for diabetes, and having a few Ritz crackers at night actually isn't that harmful for you, no matter how loud some people talk about seed oils being horrible. It's like, everyone's got to take this DNA test to analyze what things are truly bad and not bad for you. And then I talk probably one of my most Lex Friedman-like podcasts yet, episode 50 with Justin Lovato. We dive into consciousness, human nature, understanding what we are, who we are, and man, it was deep and interesting. Then I had a crazy episode with a guy who was a drug addict and was probably going to die because of it. Then he took one trip of mushrooms and one trip of LSD and changed his life Now he has a kid, and now he has a family, and he's on a good path. And it's like, who would have known? The way to stop drug addiction is to take a few other different kind of drugs. It's like, who would have known? It's kind of cool. But a lot of people aren't open-minded enough to even check out that episode because mushrooms, scary, and then ending up with episode 52, I talk about Christianity with a friend of mine from Western. Pretty good episode. I recommend. So yeah, that's 52 episodes all outlined. And, I'm very glad that I've been on this journey, and anyone who's supported me, I appreciate it. I recently just updated my logo, updated my brand. If you scroll through all of my YouTube videos, you can see that every single thumbnail is like updated and with a similar brand. And I'm trying to be as professional as possible with this podcast. And, I hope you guys can appreciate that. And, I want to be the person who's remembered for covering topics that most people won't, whether it be porn, sex, drugs, whatever. I'm down to talk about these things because, in my opinion, there are no topics that are off limits. And the more that we say topics are off limits, I feel like the less freedom we're going to have. And, freedom of speech is truly one of the greatest gifts we've ever been granted. And in my opinion, we better utilize it and stand up for what's true when we still have that ability to speak. So yeah, I wanted to inspire you all. You can become whoever you want to be if you put in the time. Just consistency and dedication, and you'll get there. So thank you so much for listening. You guys truly mean a lot to me, and I will see you in the next episode. Farewell.